How's it going? This is one of the first videos I'm shooting for Ness Education. Um, my name is Ness. I'm from South Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised there. I left for a long time. I traveled the United States. I actually ended up in Alaska for a lot of years. I was a door-to-door salesman up there. I've owned a couple of apartment complexes. And I've been buying and selling homes for probably the last 4 or 5 years without any money. The what it's called is basically it's wholesaling single family homes. Okay, it's a very simple process. You have a lot of gurus out there that have a lot of information for you on how to do deals. But when you're first getting started, you really need to take a look at how simple wholesaling a single family home is and what to do. Basically the day that you get educated or the day that you figure out the basic process of buying a home without any money. The first step is to really just find some information. You would need a mentor, an education system, something like that to start out. And a lot of the gurus are going to tell you the basics of wholesaling as far as marketing goes. And that's, handing out yellow letters. And what that means is it's a lined sheet of paper that's yellow. We've all seen them, the yellow pads, and you write your name. Hi, my name is Nathan. I'm interested in buying your house. And then you send them a letter. And when they get the letter, it's handwritten. So it looks like it's like a letter from their family member writing them some sort of a letter or something like that. So it kind of tricks them into thinking that is a letter for them, basically. And it just says, hi, I'm interested in buying your house on such and such avenue. Those are for people that, they have homes. Like they might rent somewhere or they have a home somewhere, but they have like a secondary home. Maybe it's going into foreclosure or it's vacant. Or they just might be living in the house. And they need to sell the house. Okay, so the difference between a realtor and somebody that works on the investor side is the investors are always, almost always making more money, and they don't really need like a license or anything. They just basically use cash, but they don't necessarily use their own cash. They're borrowing a lot of money when they're flipping homes. When you're wholesaling homes, what you're doing is you're finding this actual seller and you're putting it under contract, and then you're selling that contract to another buyer, somebody that has actual money, like real money, like he's just basically going to pay cash as is. No matter what the house looks like, there's always a buyer that'll buy something from, that looks like shit and fix it up, make it look real nice, and then resell it and make some money. I personally have no desire to flip a home. I never have. Everybody's doing it right now. You can make a lot of money, but the recession always happens. There's always a bubble. Right now in 2017, it's October. We're still in a pretty hot market, but it's about to crash. I mean, it's inevitable. It happens every 8 to 10 years, and we're up for it. So, there's going to be a lot of heartache here in the near future. But you never know. It might last another year or two, and still be hot. But right now, things are selling. So homes are selling and people are buying them. Banks are giving out loans, and it's great. So life is good. As an investor, though, it doesn't matter what type of market that you are actually in. You can be in a recession is actually better for you because there's a lot more problems for you to solve. A realtor needs somebody that is basically just gotten married and has good credit and is looking to buy a home. And they have enough money to put down on the home, and so basically the realtors are the worker bees of the real estate industry, where they find people that buy and sell homes. And those are the people that want to sell. So when somebody's selling, they usually go with the realtor because they want to sell, not because they need to sell. And then they have to find people with good enough credit to actually buy the homes. So they got, there's the buyer's agent, there's the seller's agent, and they switch off, so on and so forth. They have an appraiser come through and say, okay, the house is worth this. Then a loan is approved, and then you buy the house. But when you are on the investor side, you are actually in a position to not have as much licensing as you need. You don't really need a license. You can just pretty much do it with your own name. But like setting up an LLC cost me $50 in the state of Arizona. In other states, it might cost a little bit more, but you don't need a lawyer for $2,500 just to sign up an LLC. You can do it on LegalZoom for like $125. Like, setting up an LLC is like really an easy something that first needs to happen. Okay, so if you are looking to get into the industry and you've heard a lot about how people are flipping homes, well, I don't flip homes, I flip contracts, and I don't really do any of the hard work. I don't pay anybody to do any construction work, and I find sellers that need to sell that really sign a contract with me, and then I'll sell that contract to somebody else, and I'm partnering up with somebody else, and they're actually buying it, and then I leave the project after that. I just get my check, and the seller gets their check, and then the buyer actually gets the house, and he starts to renovate it, and then he renovates it, and then he hands it off to a realtor, and a realtor sells it. That process can take up to 10 months to a year sometimes. It's usually the average process is 2 to 3 months. You're kind of at a risk when you are flipping homes like that, because you are either borrowing money most of the time, and you have to make sure that the house is going to sell. And in a recession, houses stop selling, basically. But what starts to happen in a recession is that there's a lot more foreclosures. So that's why I like wholesaling, because it doesn't matter what industry, or I'm sorry, what type of recession or market we're in. There's always opportunity out there. And when I first got into this industry, all of the gurus were telling me that it's so competitive and this and that, but it's really not that competitive, because most people in real estate, I don't care if you're an investor or if you are a realtor or a broker or a loan officer or a wholesaler or a house flipper, like most of them are lazy. They really don't want to do that much work, and when they do work, they do make good money, so they tend to like slack, and what most of the gurus will tell you to do when you first get into wholesaling single family homes is that you need to mail what they call a yellow letter. It's again a lined piece of paper. You send it to somebody, and they get it in the mail, and then they call you, and then you do the deal. And then you have the bandit sign, and the bandit sign is something that you hang on the road. We buy homes cash. You'll see it all over Facebook and social media. Justin buys homes cash. Joe buys homes cash. Linda buys homes cash. It's all fucking watered down. There's no real originality to it. There's nothing special about it. And again, it's so much white noise out there that, of course, they would tell you that the market's competitive, but it's because they're not doing anything but sending out yellow letters and hanging bandit signs. They're not making any phone calls, and they're most likely not knocking on doors, which is what I do here at Ness Education. We basically give you the basics of a wholesale deal, and the basic wholesale deal is just finding a seller, putting it under contract, taking it to the title company. The title company runs the title report. In the meantime, you find somebody that has money, and those people exist by the thousands. You do not have to worry about money at all. There is so much money out there when you find a good deal that it'll come out of the woodworks, and people will pay, especially in this market right now, a lot of money. Almost 85 cents on the dollar, 75, 78, 80 cents. I mean, that's good money. Like, people will pay that. Like, if you get it at a really good rate, you could basically auction it off, and somebody will eventually buy it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. If you find a good dealer and you have a good relationship with a cash buyer, which I suggest, it's somebody that you can trust to perform. And also, you can give them the deals, and it's like they'll buy it. You don't even need to worry about it. So you want to definitely have a couple of those type of guys. But you can also get on Facebook for free and post in a certain flip group in your town, and if it's a good deal, somebody will give you a call, or eventually some husband and wife team that just started and stopped flipping houses, they find a deal, and that's the deal for them. That's their first deal. They're going to make $10,000 or $15,000, and they're all happy. So Flipping houses is a different concept than wholesaling single family homes. Okay, we're wholesaling homes. We're just doing the starting part, which is finding the homes. Okay, and it's just basically information. We're just looking for information about certain properties, and the ones that we go after, we like to go after because we know they're motivated. Are the people that are losing their homes to the bank. All right. So again, a very simple process. You find somebody that has a home and it's going to an auction eventually, probably in 3 months. Usually is what you'll find out when you find a pre-foreclosure list. 3 or 4 months, but that means they haven't been making their payments for like 6 or 8 months, and the banks have been calling them, like asking them for their money. Finally, they just said, "Screw it, you're not going to pay us the money that you owe us. We're going to foreclose on you. Your auction date is on this day." Therefore, at that time, the seller has to do something. Some sellers simply just won't sell for whatever reason. Sometimes people are going through a divorce. They get really vindictive. The wife doesn't want the husband to have the money, and the vice versa. And I've seen $100,000, $200,000 of equity go right down the drain. It happens just because people are emotionally attached to their homes, because the American dream is to buy homes. And it's really a nightmare because people, get divorced. Things change. You could lose your job. If there's a recession, you lose your job. Then you lose your home. Or you could not have medical insurance, and then you got to pay a medical company to fix you for whatever problem that you have, and that can drain your finances for your mortgage for your home. But most people in America have to really, their main concern every month is the mortgage of their property, especially if they own it. The banks don't actually own the property, they own the financing on the property. So they call you the homeowner, but you don't really own the home. You never really own the home, because even when you pay it off, you still have to pay property taxes on it. And if you lack paying the property taxes, the state or county will foreclose on your home as well. So just remember, like in America, you're never really a homeowner. You always have some sort of bill that's going to come at you, whether or not you own a property. So, or I'm sorry, if you own a property. So again, our system is really easy. I don't like to use a bunch of information. Any sort of lien or judgment, or if anybody doesn't know what a lien or a judgment is, it's just basically something that has happened where some outside party has put on record that the person that owns that property owes them money. Okay, so that's what a lien or a judgment is. I can work pretty much 90% of the liens. The only things that I haven't been able to work out are state or county or city liens. Other than that, I've been able to work with lawyers, medical companies, other private lenders, contractors. Contractors, like, they do work on your house, and then you pay them half up front, and then you can't pay the rest for whatever happened. They can put liens on them. You can negotiate with those guys. I'm never afraid of liens at all. I'm happy to see them when they're on there, because that just means I can kind of work it more towards my advantage. Again, we're just using a piece of paper to sign somebody up, and then we send it over to the title company. And then we use another piece of paper that goes over to the actual person with the money. It's called an assignment. He comes in with a deposit called an earnest money deposit. The title company runs the title report, and then they close on the property. Closing on the property just means that everybody signs off on, okay, I get this money, you get this money, and the buyer gets the home so he can renovate it and then resell it. That's the basic process. I don't know why the fuck that you have a bunch of different CDs on a disc on how to do that. Like, it's very simple process. Now, if you understand the process so far, and a lot of the gurus are telling you to mail yellow letters and hang bandit signs, those are the biggest mistakes that people make, because you've already spent money on an education system, but now you have to spend money on marketing. So, it gets really expensive. There's been a lot of people that I've worked with or have met with that at seminars that told me that they've spent $30,000 on, guru such and such, and he's the best guy in town, and he's wrote the best-selling books and all that stuff, and obviously, like, he's done the deals. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. But I don't think a lot of people really focus on being proactive, and that's really the problem. Is that the student needs to be proactive, and to be proactive right now, okay, at this point in time, like if you have a system or you bought something from Guru such and such, and you are just mailing out letters, or creating a website, or ordering business cards, or hanging out those signs that say "We buy homes cash." Like, you're not really being proactive. You're just doing what the gurus have told you to do, and that stuff works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It definitely works. It should be a part of your marketing. But even when somebody calls you on a bandit sign or a yellow letter or a Facebook ad, you don't even know what to fucking say. You don't know anything. You really are. Like, you start out, like, even if you are a very confident person and you've been confident in the industry that you're a professional in, which I was. I was a door knocker for a company up in Alaska, and it's the biggest company in Alaska, and it's a great thing because I made a lot of money at that company by being a door-to-door salesman for them, and I thought I knew everything when I first started. But again, if you don't know the industry, it doesn't matter how many seminars you take or how many classes or CDs that you listen to. If you don't proactively go out and do something, it's your fault. It's not the guru's fault. It's pretty cheap, actually, if you think about it. Even if you're getting charged $50,000 to $150,000 to learn how to be an investor, because investors make more money than everybody else on the planet, pretty much. Entrepreneurs are the 5%. The rest of the people make, in the United States, 95% of people make $100,000 or less. That is a fact. And also, most of those people that are making $100,000 a year are working a 9 to 5. A lot of heart attacks, I think it's like something like 75% of heart attacks happen between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the morning on Monday. So most people hate their fucking jobs. That's why you're watching my podcast right now, is because you hate your job. you most likely hate your job, or you're looking for something that can make you some more money, or you see the big checks that people are making, and people are doing it. Don't let me bullshit you. It's not a scam. People that say it is a scam have never been successful at it. Multi-level marketing works for people. It's not a scam. Pyramid scheme is what multi-level marketing is called, that people that have never fucking done it. It's always somebody that's works a middle-class job that never really tried anything, that really has always some opinion on something he's never actually done. Okay, so I literally can make money without money, and I don't need that much information to go out and actually find people that are in trouble of losing their home. You know what I mean? Like, the information is out there, and I can find the information out by actually going out and knocking on the door, which is the premise of what I do. Okay, like, that's my main focus. My team knocks doors, I knock doors, and when I really started knocking on doors, it started working for me. It didn't necessarily work right away, but you start to learn the language and what to say. And, you don't really, like I said, like, you can eyeball stuff. Like, you can just know how much equity is actually in the home before you go to the door. You can see how much work that needs to be done on the property, and it doesn't need to be spot on. You don't need to do every single measurement. You can just kind of look in the house. Okay, it's a shitty house. It's probably going to cost about $20,000 to fix up. All right, they owe $40,000 to the bank. It's going to take $20,000 to fix it up, so that leaves $60,000 left. And your seller, or the guy that's going to buy the property, your buyer, the guy that's going to flip it, renovate it, and then give it to the realtor to sell, and make money. He wants to make $20,000-$25,000, so you can make $10,000-$15,000 off a $100,000 house. If somebody owes $40,000 to the bank, and then it takes $20,000 in work, and the guy that you know is buying the property wants to make $25,000, he does have to borrow money and pay interest on it. Plus, he has to hold it, and then he has to also pay a fucking realtor to sell it. Which is another 3% or whatever it is. But again, people make it really hard when it's really a very simple process. It's just a lot of rejection, and people don't have the balls to just stick with it. Like you get deals, and sometimes you get them under contract, and then you find out that the numbers don't work, and it's not as sweet as deal as you got. But again, I've made 33 grand off a $55,000 house. If a realtor sells a house at $100,000, he makes $3,000. So which side do you want to be on? But again, it's not an easy industry because you really have to work, door to door to start learning the language anyways, or you have to do some sort of cold calling. Okay. So mailing out yellow letters and hanging bandit signs is not really something that I suggest in the beginning because you're not learning the language. It's something that you have to repeatedly do in order to learn how to actually talk to people and how to talk to them and what to say to them and how to react and all those different type of things before you can actually do something. Because if somebody calls you on a yellow letter or a bandit sign, you don't know what to say. Like I don't know how many times I got to say that. It's the truth. But, every single guru in the world is going to charge you a bunch of money and then make you spend more money on marketing when you can go out and actually get the deals yourself. So, again, that's what I teach. I mentor people on how to do that. It's a very simple process. You can use basic contracts that you can find on the internet. If you really are a young kid and you're starting out and you're like 18, 19 years old, you really have nothing to lose anyway. If somebody tells you that, you can get sued and that's what scares you from being an entrepreneur or an investor, don't listen to those fucking people. Like, there's so many people that have some sort of a opinion on your type of dream, and real estate can actually get you to your dreams because 90% of all multimillionaires have started or are in real estate. Okay, and they've gotten real estate to fund certain things like films or started some side business that turned into a bigger business that was bigger than the real estate business they were working, or they started teaching real estate, or they started a boat company or whatever they did. But you can make a lot of money in real estate and you don't need any money. What you need, and what people ask me all the time, is what's the best thing to invest in, and I say knowledge. So again, buying a course or a class or a mentorship program from somebody is a good idea. It's a great idea, but just make sure that you're doing the fucking work. Okay, if you're not doing the work, it's your fault. It's not the guru's fault. The guru is giving you the information. He's the guru for a reason. Okay, and people charge high prices. Okay, I don't really charge that much, but the first step is to go knock on the door. That's the first step. You need a deal. Everything else will fall into place. Stop worrying about bandit signs, yellow letters, finding a fucking buyer's list, because that doesn't matter either. Because once you have a good deal and it's a smoking deal, it doesn't matter who it is. They'll buy it. People will buy it. Like, they'll come out of the woodworks. All you got to do is go to a Facebook page in your town, post the picture of the property, and put the price up. And if it's a good deal, it'll sell in 30 minutes. If it's a decent deal, it'll still sell, but it'll take a couple of days or maybe weeks, but it'll still sell. So again, just make sure that you're giving a fair price and that you can make some money on the property and that you're communicating with your seller and your buyer at all times. But again, this process is very simple, and a lot of the gurus make it way too complex, and it's really to charge high rates. Okay, when you can literally just go start working tonight. Okay, like as soon as you have a list where you know where to go in your area in a zip code by you, you can literally just go knock on the door and see what's going on. Okay, you're gonna get a lot of no's. Some people shut the door on your face. Most people are actually nice at the door compared to being called on the telephone, because like on the telephone they can just tell you to go fuck yourself. Very rarely do I have people do that at the door. They're pretty docile then. They're pretty shameful. They're embarrassed. They don't really want to talk about it. But you have to learn how to get over that. You know what I mean? You really are never really going to get a deal at the door. You really got to focus on getting a phone number from them and then following up on a regular basis. That's what really gets it done. 80% of your deals are going to come between the 5th and 12th contact. Anyways, so, you just have to focus on knocking on doors, talking to people, getting a phone number, and then just keeping up with them. So you also need a tracking system, some sort of a CRM. And that's just basically, you put names and phone numbers and addresses and information about people in a database where you can track them, and it can alert you on days to like call them. So it's called the follow-up. You want to focus on the follow-up. Follow-ups are the king of everything that you do in real estate. If you don't follow up, you're not really ever going to get a deal, because you're, again, people that are losing their homes, like there's a million investors out there, but most of them are not knocking on doors, and then half of them aren't following up. The other 75% are definitely not following up after the 5th time. So you have a very small percentage of people that are going to follow up between the 5th and 12th contact. Okay, so you just got to make sure that you're constantly following up with people. We had a deal where we made, so we probably made like maybe 12 or 14 grand. It was me and a buddy. I took 2/3 because it was my deal, and he had 1/3 of it because he actually sold it. So, he made a little bit of money, but it took us a year to get this lady to sell a burnt down house in Phoenix. And it was for whatever reason. People are they're finicky. Sometimes they don't want to sell. But again, it was because we followed up, we got the deal. There was a lot of people in town or other people that were following up with this lady, but we just kept doing it. And it was because we had a system that we could track and alert us. That's the reason why. So again, a lot of this stuff seems really complex because it's just a lot of information being thrown at you at once. But just remember that you can get a list of pre-foreclosures today with equity in them, and then you can go out and you can knock on their doors. Okay, so if you want to learn how to wholesale and how to make the big money, like, you see $12,000 or $22,000 or even $5,000 is a lot of money to some people. You can do that, but you have to be proactive. So what do? You get that list and you go out and you knock doors. And that's what I teach here, okay? Everything else will fall into place. The title company does all the paperwork anyways. The buyers exist by the thousands. The contracts, you can find them on the internet. But you can also just ask one of your friends that are in the industry if they have like a blank one. They're not really supposed to give you the legal advice just in case you get sued or whatever. But, if you're 18, 19 years old, you don't have any assets, the only thing you have is a broke down Honda Accord that barely works. Like, what are you fucking worried about? Like, take a shot and see what you can do. It's going to take you a little bit of time, okay? Not like a month, like a couple of months. More than a couple of months. Sometimes it takes years. But you can work in the industry enough, and if you work in it consistently, you'll eventually stumble upon something, and you'll be able to make a deal happen. And there's people in the industry that will help you, okay? If you join my team, I already have a system that's already set up for you. If you're working in the Phoenix area, if you're out of state, I still do mentorship programs. It's up to you to kind of find your own list. But again, all you got to do is find a list. It's not that hard. There's a list in every single town, in every single part of this country, in the United States. So I don't care if you're in Alaska, Florida, New York, Maine, Phoenix, California, like, you can do deals everywhere because everybody's losing their ass at some point in their life. So if you look at all the people in the country, at least one, anybody that buys a house or are homeowners are considered lifetime homeowners. They usually are going to experience a foreclosure in their lifetime, if not two, maybe one bankruptcy. So everybody has medical problems. Most people don't know how to manage money. That's 95% of people. Otherwise, it wouldn't be just the 5%. The 5% understand money, and the other 95% don't. So imagine how many investors there actually are in the world, and the other 95% know nothing about money. So if somebody has a degree from Harvard, and they just got out of school, all that tells me is that they're really, really academically smart, but they also probably have Harvard about $200,000 or $300,000. You know what I mean? So that tells me that you're not very financially literate, because you have to get a really good job to be able to pay back $300,000. And then after college, like when you get married and you start to have kids, it's like, okay, well, I have to buy a house too. So then you buy a house and you're still paying on your student loans, and then you have a car that you need for the kid, and your wife, and you both need a car, so you have two more car notes that you have to pay. But you're still making great money, right? And then you have your credit cards just in case of emergencies. But then every now and then you're buying stuff with your credit card, or taking a vacation or doing something like that. And it's just getting you more and more in bad debt. You don't really call it bad debt because your bills are on time, but it's not. It's still bad debt because it doesn't put money in your pocket. Good debt actually puts money in your pocket. So those are like buy and hold properties, okay? Apartment complexes, storage units, like just having a condo that, makes you an extra 200 or $200 a month. That's a positive cash flow. That's called good debt. But if it takes money out of your pocket, it's called bad debt. So the majority of Americans are in bad debt, whether they think they are or not. And again, the real problem is with, the realtors. I mean, the culture pushes realtors to sell properties and make it seem all glamorous, and they make all this kind of money and everything. But what they're doing is creating a 30-year mortgage for somebody that's what mortgage means in Latin. It means payment till death. So if you own a home right now and you're paying on it by your job and you and your wife's job, you're essentially a slave to that mortgage, and those car notes and the credit cards and the student loans, blah, blah, blah. If you have 7 or 8 sources of income, chances are you're doing pretty well. You're having other sources of passive income that are actually paying on all your toys and your house and your cars and whatever else you want to do. And that's what multimillionaires do. That's what millionaires do. That's what billionaires do. They leverage their money. They essentially use good debt to get rich. But again, if that's kind of down the road, when you first start out doing what I do, again, my name is Nate Ness. I teach you how to make money without money by wholesaling single family homes, buying them at a discount, putting them under contract, handing that contract off to a guy with money, and he comes in and he closes the deal and you get paid, and so does the seller. And then he gets the house, he renovates it, hands it off to a realtor. That's basically how the whole process works. But as far, just to keep it real basic, you find a seller, you put it under contract, you take it to the title company, you form another contract called an assignment, you assign the original contract in another form of piece of paper called the assignment contract to the actual buyer. He brings in the cash. He first puts down a deposit, then he brings down the cash when it comes time to close. The seller gets their money, you get your money, and then he gets the property. That's it. That's wholesaling. Like, it doesn't need to be 36 fucking CDs on how to send out a yellow letter, flip a contract, hang a bandit sign, marketing, so on and so forth, okay? Like, you can literally